Make sure you region set.
Great. The first thing people hear is make sure we region set. Oh wait. Peeked the curtain. I didn't do. Not only did I actually region set, I then forgot to put it full. Wow, it's just like we're the Critics' Choice Awards and we're so scheduled. It's like, yeah, we're gonna be going on time. Nothing's gonna stop us. Oh wait, Omicron. Okay, we'll delay.
And apparently the Spirit Awards are in the corner too.
Oh. Oh, I still. Oh, I change that. Hang on. That's something easy. When I get around to it.
I know they say never go full Kai and Ty Ashley, but boom. You jackass.
Yeah, that's the idea.
This is what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen. 5/11 end of next month. So, we're here. We've waited since August to do this. And this is where we do our final Big 8 predictions. And I say final Big 8 predictions because next month, we get to try to predict the impossible like we do every single year. Every single category. Cold open, restaurant quality, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Owen. I'm wearing a Joey Janela shirt because tomorrow I'm going to AEW Dark in Jacksonville. And joining me as always, we have Ashley. And he is now apparently cosplaying as the Swedish Chef. No Jared Leto tonight. Sad punny. Anyway.
Well, considering the news came out yesterday about John Mark Valley, I didn't think it was right.
Yeah.
Especially as well, it's just after his 50th birthday, and his 50th birthday was not really a present.
I guess I have plausible deniability here. Anyway, and also joining us
Dallas Buyers Club.
I know what Dallas Buyers Club is.
Yes, but you said plausible deniability, so I'm just clarifying.
I don't know what happened. I don't know these things.
Oh, Valet died apparently of a heart attack at his place in Quebec, Christmas Day, allegedly preparing for a party on the 26th.
Okay.
So, from out of nowhere. So.
Yeah, I'd hate to say this is a good thing by any means, but I'm almost kind of relieved to hear that because I know because he was out at his cabin by itself, a lot of people were speculating suicide. So that's like, it's a little less grim that it's a heart attack, but that doesn't take away from the grimness at all. It was like, it kind of felt like the same shock when we lost Lynn Shelton last year.
The Deadline article that's the only thing that seems to hint the heart attack thing seems to imply that he had what are those stupid exercise regimens in the insanity workouts from something years ago that they still do for $30 for 6 DVDs sort of thing. Apparently it was he was on a very, very, very intense workout regime, so whether that contributed to anything well, me and Owen know about Eddie Guerrero and the hole in the heart from out of nowhere.
Sure.
So maybe it's just something like that.
I even had a friend a long time ago that just took a random clothesline at just the spot show in West Virginia, and it stopped his heart, and he just straight up died, and they brought him back to life seconds later. So yeah, absolutely.
Also, AJ's here.
Lord, I was trying to put over the Pulp Fiction shirt too. So
yeah,
this is new. It's got Mia, Jules, and the wolf on the sleeve too.
It's like my Water Parks hoodie. It's got really cool. It's got the Water Parks logo on the side of it, and Jeff Austin and Otto are on the sides of it too, so I think that's kind of cool. So we mentioned.
When you did my intro, I was going to bring up the Jean-Marc Vallée thing, so Ashley covered that.
Okay.
Do I go ahead and air my grievance, or do we work our way into that?
I mean, Festivus was 5 days ago, but technically speaking, we can still do this. And then I'll get to chat, and then I want to talk about something else too when Ashley comes back that also ties into a passing we had recently that Ashley will hopefully know about, but I don't know much about it. I just saw it on my social media. AJ, floor is yours.
So, something interesting. It's been a rough couple of days, and if I don't want to, like, people are here to see the predictions and stuff like that. So to make this relevant, I will start off by congratulating Simon Rex on his LA win.
I'm totally down with this.
So, yeah, so I have a grievance to air really quick that's been bothering me for a couple of days. So Owen saw Sean Baker's new movie Red Rocket.
I did.
Over Christmas. And we were talking about it because I haven't seen it yet, and during this conversation something occurred to me that is probably something that has never happened before as far as I know. And I don't know even when the next time would be, but Red Rocket, despite being like an awards contender on, like, the indie stuff and stuff like that, there's a very good chance that Red Rocket will be the first movie that I can think of or remember that I likely will not see ever because it would be too painful. And the reason I say that is this, I don't know how many people will see this, how many people come. I don't even know how many people are here right now, but I just want it to be known I am not making any formal accusations.
Not one bit.
I am just making a statement in the simplest terms. In the simplest terms possible, I basically wrote Red Rocket 6 years ago.
Yep. 100%.
And not like, oh, it's an idea of mine. I wrote Red Rocket 6 years ago.
Yep.
And by the way, let me just say, my script was on the blacklist I put my script called Strawberry on the blacklist about 4 months after the Florida Project came out. Those of you that know the timeline will know the Florida Project was Sean Baker's last movie. I'm not making any formal accusations whatsoever, and I know even if I wanted to, it wouldn't go because they're not identical. I can say even though I haven't seen it, I can say for sure they are not identical. But my script is apparently in Red Rocket.
Oh yeah, totally.
And that's and like I said, that might sound vague, like, oh, anybody can say that.
No, it is.
It's really like I have you, Owen, who has seen it, and I have the Wikipedia synopsis, and it is weirdly specific. The only big differences are theirs is about porn and mine is human trafficking, and where they had a donut shop, I had a coffee shop.
Yep.
That's the differences. But yeah, I just want to put that, like I said, no formal accusations, and even if I tried, it wouldn't go anywhere because they're not the same thing, but like a very large fraction of Red Rocket is my story and my script.
Like the midpoint pretty much to the end with like sprinkled out is what AJ's talking about. And usually I would say the opinion, like some sort of like a subsidiary of something like the opinions of AJ are not those of Popcast Network. In this case, I'm not going to say that because 100%.
There's one more thing that is really, really bizarre. And this is something that's a complete coincidence. Like this is nothing but a coincidence, which makes it weird. So I wrote my script, Strawberry, in 2015, right, like around Christmas 2015, I think.
Yep, that sounds about right.
And the reason I didn't put it on the blacklist until early 2018 is because another movie came out around the time I had just finished Strawberry, and that movie was Tangerine. And the fruit titles aside, I remember saying Tangerine because I was so mind blown that Tangerine was made on a phone. So I was like, I could make this script on a phone. So Tangerine was my inspiration for the aesthetic of the movie that ultimately became Red Rocket 6 years later. I am not. By the way, I love Sean Baker. The Florida Project made my top 10 of 2017.
Yeah.
And I would never accuse him. It's just really weird. That's all I'm saying.
Fair.
And I have no power in this situation anyway, so that's all I can say.
So yeah, I want to talk. We'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah, I really liked Red Rocket a lot. Even
Ooh. Naming an underage sex worker Strawberry is not the same thing as naming any other character Jane.
True. Oddly specific.
There's no. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Sean Baker is Doug Walker, confirmed. Anyway, actually, Brad Jones, not Doug Walker. That's a different story for a different time. Comedy for two is still comedy. So here's the thing. Before we get any further, God, we're way off base right now. Ashley mentioned talking about the Dallas Buyers Club. AJ, of course, wanted to say it. Ashley beat him to it, so both of them wanted to list their condolences. Something I saw that came across my Twitter feed, and it plays into my Joey Janela shirt I'm wearing. Marcus Crane passed today, actually. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's another thing. I mean, that plays into obviously the wrestling mindset of this channel, which is going to come back next year. I can 100% guarantee this, and strictly AEW and GCW only. So that's the only thing that doesn't make me lose my mind as a wrestling fan. But yeah, I definitely wanted to mention Marcus Crane passing today. So I didn't really see much. All I know, it came across, Brett posted something on GCW's Twitter about it. So I wanted to at least mention this, at least in passing, when we start the show today. So not a great start for the day. We've got death, plagiarism.com, and now let's talk the Oscars. So
nobody said plagiarism. Nobody said the word.
I just said .com, so there you go. .com completely eliminates everything. So yeah, that's your cold open, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said before, restaurant quality, just like picture. So let me say right now, before we get started, AJ did allude to the fact I watched Red Rocket. I really enjoyed it, even everything aside. But yes, as I'm sure is going to be mentioned numerous times tonight, I saw the best film of 2021 as well, and I cannot wait to watch it again. I honestly was very happy to see it finally, and I cannot wait to have an excuse to see it again, whether I have to pay for it or not. I do not care. Whether it is part of my A-list or not, I do not care. It will be watched numerous times, and we will be discussing it the entire rest of the show. That being said, let's talk about our chat right now, ladies and gentlemen. First off, speaking of that, Josephine is currently watching said Licorice Pizza right now. So, like I said, kudos to her. She says, I will write down...
Streisand.
John Peters is the man. And I'll tell you right now, 100% I'm the only one in that entire packed theater that knew exactly about the Kevin Smith story. Anyway... She said, I will write down my thoughts in the comments below if and when I can listen to the video. Ashley chimes in there. Lorraine says, can't wait to listen while eating Christmas leftovers. One of us have not eaten today. This guy, I've been living on a couple of Hershey Kisses. I just got finished running.
This guy, I'm literally cooking it now. I'm going to be heading off in a couple of minutes once I've done my adapted screenplay things to grab it and make it here.
One of us can't do that here. This guy right here. Anyway, so... that's another thing too, and so we've got binaural Dean. He gave the peace sign. Thank you. Good fellow Tim just walked out of Licorice Pizza, one of the top 3 movies of the year. Yes, you are correct. Brian says we know 3 major events that occurred since the last podcast. Critics' Choice has been postponed. That video is still coming Monday. Doesn't matter regardless, because we are prompt here on the network. And we have a short list, which again we'll allude to later on. And, of course, the elephant in the room is the massive campaign to getting Spider-Man No Way Home for Best Picture, which is not going to happen. No, it's not. But It's nice to believe it could. Lorraine says, I think it's Spider-Man or Dune. I can't see both getting in. I'd be okay with neither one. At this point, Brian says, oh crap, didn't know John Mark died. And Lorraine says, is Ashley cutting in out for anyone else? And Brian goes, not for me. And I'm not wearing my AirPods because they may die. So.
I don't think I am on, at least on your end, AJ. I'm coming through okay.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Right.
Yes, you are coming in clear. Come on, I had to use it. Might as well. So yeah, I just literally finished running 4 miles in like 43 minutes, so I'm kind of tired, but I'm going to give it my all. And AJ knows this, and he's the only one that had this conversation with, is the fact that I did these predictions days ago. And I've talked to you about doing these predictions days ago. So needless to say, I am extremely, not necessarily comfortable, but I'm ready to go for our final Oscar predictions of 2021. And of course, next month, we will predict every single category. I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, and then AJ and Ashley will be doing something. Well, they were to be doing something for the Critics' Choice and the Golden Globes, but who knows what's going to happen with that?
I guess it's the Globes now, because if the Globes isn't actually going to have a physical ceremony and nobody's going to attend, unless now, what if they do attend because there's nothing planned otherwise that day? Oh, that's even more intriguing.
I mean, I am going to California, so you never know.
Then
anyway,
again,
Lorraine said,
considering all the other things that all got, I think the Governor's Awards got postponed as well from the Oscars, and however many in-person awards that they were due to have also got delayed or cancelled altogether, so who knows?
All right, Steve Carino, ugly head again.
I have something to add to you saying you did your predictions a few days ago.
You're not going to deny that because I had that conversation with you.
I'm saying is me and you are the reverse of what we usually are.
Exactly.
Not only am I so unsure at this point,
okay,
that my hands are shaking because I Red Rocket thing.
That's fair.
What was I saying?
The DiCaprio moment.
I was thinking about the predictions, and I was trying to finalize them. And what I talked about the last time was that previous video where I completely forgot about DiCaprio when I was going to mention him. Like I was going to put him in, and I just literally forgot about him because there's so many contenders and so much going on.
We'll get there.
Like I almost just did that again right before we started. You guys watched me put somebody in that's a major player that I just literally forgot about because there's so many other contenders, and I had to make the change at the last minute. So I'm not entirely sure if these are exactly the way I want them, but I know what I'm looking at right now and what my reasons are. So I guess it's on me if anything is just literally forgotten. So we'll see what happens.
Alrighty. And that's going to be... Lorraine says that must have resolved itself because Ashley sounds fine now. Okay, cool. And as I'm drinking an energy drink that has not been put up yet because that video is coming later in the next... I don't know when, at some point. There's a calendar. We'll get to there eventually. But let's talk. Big 8. We've done this since August. We've gone a long way, and we had a lot of weird things that have happened on the path. There's movies and performances that have been long since forgotten that we started out with all the hope in the world for. And now we have reached the final piece of the puzzle before we predict everything next month. So let's do this. Let's start with our screenplays.
All right. Adapted screenplay?
Yes.
This one was a problem because West Side Story busted into this competition like the fucking Kool-Aid Man.
Yes.
So, just like the whole... not just this category, the whole thing. But Kushner is very much a player in this.
Absolutely.
But I didn't go with him. And the reason for that is that I ended up with Drive My Car, The Lost Daughter, Passing, The Power of the Dog, and Macbeth. Maybe I'm putting too much into Passing, and people have been telling me maybe for a long time now I've been putting too much into Macbeth. But that's because I actually kind of feel comfortable with Drive My Car here right now. Like I'm not even like saying, "Oh, this is a gamble." It's just I just feel like it's here. And I could really see us doubling up on the actresses turned directors, writer directors with Gyllenhaal and Rebecca Hall. And I kind of been stuck on the passing thing pretty much since I saw the movie as far as it getting in this category. Obviously, Power of the Dog is the front runner, with maybe The Lost Daughter being a spoiler, but obviously that's a video that's like 2 months from now. Uh, but I'm trying to stick this Macbeth thing as much as I can, just out of loyalty. Because once again, like we were talking about before with Licorice Pizza, not having reached its peak yet in the season, I'm still wondering if Macbeth hasn't reached a peak yet either, and that's why it's still kind of down a little bit because it's still not even getting its big release for another couple of weeks. So that's relevant. So based on those five, I can't bring myself to push anybody out for a Kushner, even though I probably should. I really don't know where to start. So because I feel too comfortable with these, but yeah.
All right, Ashley, what's for adapted?
Um, weirdly similar. I
Okay.
have Drive My Car, Lost Daughter, Passing, Power of the Dog, and West Side Story.
Okay.
Drive My Car just moves in because I think that is this year's Parasite. We'll get to that in a minute. But then, so I knocked out that for Nightmare Alley, and then, as much as I want Tick Tick Boom to still be in there, with the amount of momentum that West Side Story's got over the last few weeks, I think it's probably gonna make it in here. Even though I think Tick Tick Boom is more. Well, it's not really a remake because they haven't made a movie of Tick Tick Boom. Okay, yes, there's enough sort of subtle changes in the remake of West Side Story to the original and whatever, but I feel that Tick Tick Boom is the better sort of adaptation because it's based on something already. I guess it's weird that that's the same. In essence, that's the same thing with Nightmare Alley. It's a remake of a 1940, well, in that case, 40s film rather than 50s or 60s for West Side Story. So, yeah, overall very similar, but I feel strong enough with those.
47 and 61 are the years on Nightmare Alley and West Side Story.
Yeah.
Of course.
I knew that Nightmare Alley was sort of like just after the war, and then it was like, because I'm guessing the original Broadway musical would have been in like 58 or 59.
Something like that.
Yeah, with the film a few years later. But yeah, they be my five. I still love the fact in August I put House of Gucci in here, and then we saw it, and then it's like, yeah, the script's the worst thing about this film.
So I think we all had House of Gucci, didn't we? We all look like idiots.
Yeah. Well, we didn't realize the severity of how bad the writing would be from, even though it was from the writer of like Remain to the Day. What was that? Like 7 Years in Tibet or some one of those weird films. Like they haven't written a film in like 15 years. Anyway.
All right. We're going to chat now, and then we'll give my predictions afterwards. Brian says, "Heads up, don't look up and being the Ricardos for anything, even if their receptions are not great." We'll get there. Lorraine says the adapted lineup is Power of the Dog, Coda, Lost Daughter, Drive My Car, Nightmare Alley. Brian says Coda, Drive My Car, Lost Daughter, Power of the Dog, and Tragedy of Macbeth. I did have Passing in here, but I replaced it with Drive My Car. I remembered I saw Macbeth being mentioned in my city's newspaper this morning with a big picture of McDormand and Denzel.
Nice. Yeah, I keep fucking sleeping on Coda in this category. That's probably going to be a mistake, but like I said, but with not having Kushner in either, I don't know what the hell to do.
Okay, so this is the time where like I said before, I'm going to get full immediately, even though I haven't eaten today for a couple of Hershey Kisses. I'm going to eat a lot of crow tonight, and that's exactly this is where it starts. All right, so my adapted lineup, I've had a lot of things that have been in here. There's 4 that I've bumped out throughout the time that we've done this, and there would be Nightmare Alley, House of Gucci, The Tragedy of Macbeth, and Coda. Coda is the only one I feel really uncomfortable about not having in here. Like AJ mentioned a minute ago, I feel like it's a problem. Basically because I had Coda in picture at one point, and I had it in here in screenplay. And to pick it for something else later on, which I'm sure you know what I'm going to go with, it might be a sucker bet not putting it in screenplay. But as I do this, which is the universal sign of why not both, I did the exact same thing. Why not both? My best adapted screenplay lineup is The Power of the Dog, The Lost Daughter, Drive My Car, West Side Story, and Tick Tick Boom. I don't feel uncomfortable with any of these being in here. Ashley, I'm sure, is alluding to, and AJ, I know, has toyed with the idea of putting Drive My Car in picture. I don't think it's that far. I don't think it's Parasite, but I do think it's going to be a big player, at least in categories. And that's why I feel comfortable having it here. Now, that being said, I'm pretty sure if I look at it, the rest of it, I don't have it for anything else. But that doesn't mean anything at this point because we haven't done, we're not doing the Born Awards, we're not doing the Tech Awards right now. So, needless to say, we'll get to that later on. But yeah, I feel very pseudo comfortable with having Kushner in here. But to take out Coda for West Side Story, I feel like I may be jinxing myself with the half and half. But I guess we'll see. Lost Daughter is in here. Yes, I've dropped all my hope in anything for House of Gucci. Sivaco, it is dead. Tragedy Macbeth, I mean, I don't know at this point. I get maybe what happens when I see it. If I do see it in the next couple of days, which I could, we'll know bookings tomorrow, so we'll know if I'll get it to or not. Nightmare Alley pretty much done its party right now. But the thing about that is that Nightmare Alley is also gaining traction with the general public. So that doesn't matter, but visibility is visibility. So
It's after having seen it, it's quite surprising to me how mass the group is that has taken to Nightmare Alley.
right.
Because it does not scream crowd pleaser at all.
I will tell you from the showing that I saw, it was not a crowd pleaser. So
I couldn't judge by the 2 other people that were in there with me.
I watched it with a pretty packed theater, actually. So, but then again, I live in Orlando, so we have packed theaters for everything, with the exception of the Red Rocket showing that we talked about, which was just me. 7 o'clock on Christmas Eve, I watched Red Rocket by myself.
That's the power of the Spider-Mans, I guess.
Yeah, I can hear those marks outside, actually. They were very loud, and they wouldn't shut up either. Usually I say you're entitled to your opinion even though you're wrong. No, you're good. I'm fine with that. Andrew Garfield's the man. Anyway, by the way, vindication. So, and I can say that here, me and AJ are now 100% vindicated. I'm not talking about the Dashboard Confessional song that's also in Spider-Man. I'm literally saying we are vindicated from what we said about the Amazing Spider-Man, and now everyone believes us. You're welcome. So, let's go to original screenplay.
This is like the one lineup I actually feel pretty confident about.
For the
Like
most part.
what?
For the most part.
I finally made a change I should have done from the get-go.
Oh, I know where we're going with this. Go ahead.
And by the way, if this ends up being wrong, that particular one that I finally changed, I'm just gonna tear this place apart. So that better be right.
Except for the Emily Blunt poster.
True. The 2. But okay. So like I said, I have one on the outskirts here, but it's pretty far on the outskirts. So I this is the one lineup where I'm like, I feel good about this. We'll see how much that changes. For original, I have Belfast, Don't Look Up, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, and Mass. I had Parallel Mothers in here, but then of course my Almodovar stats were off in my head. Yeah, I mean, Eleanor is still a possibility, but I look at those five and I feel like unless we're in that state where I'm forgetting an obvious one, that just looks really good to me. So
Okay.
there's not really any further. King Richard, of course, is the one that everybody's had in this whole time that I haven't for some reason. And in every video, I've been saying King Richard probably really needs to be in here, but I don't know what to do. And maybe Spencer should be
Yeah.
more in this in my mind, but like I said, I look at these five and I'm really comfortable, so we'll see what
Okay.
happens.
What do you got, Ash?
I mean, AJ's list is so good, it's the same. So, yeah, so basically the only switch for me is Mass moves in place of Come On, Come On. I already had Belfast, Don't Look Up, King Richard, and Licorice Pizza in from last time, so yeah, not much to say. I think that's a strong enough list. I mean, I don't think there's anything that could be a chance of getting in. Possibly being with the Ricardos because of Sorkin, maybe. But other than that, no. That's a good 5 for me.
All right, what do we got here for chat? Brian says Belfast, Hero, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Take a Shot, Parallel Mothers. Feels more like a BAFTA lineup. So yeah, I have 3 international films in Screenplay. Lorraine says Licorice Pizza being the Ricardos, King Richard, Belfast, Don't Look Up. Lorraine, I knew I liked you.
Ah.
But that also means one thing and one thing I don't want to talk about right now. Obviously, everybody knows my absolute adoration for Licorice Pizza now, as I've talked about it and without really going into it. But it also means that my second favorite movie of the year had done its party because for some reason people forgot about it. There is an Anderson getting in this year, but it's not going to be Wes Anderson, sadly. French Dispatch had to drop out here for the obviosity of King Richard. I do have being the Ricardos, Belfast, Don't Look Up, and Licorice Pizza in here with King Richard. I do think my 5 is pretty solidified at this point. I'd like to see Mask get in here. I'd like to see Mask get some love. I'm sure a lot of people in chat would like to see Mask get some love, but this ain't the year. Unfortunately, I could see it getting a screenplay nomination, but with the love that we had for Jason Isaacs and Ann Dowd and just everything, like it's kind of floated away surely. So Mass has got its wonderful award it's going to get at Spirit Awards, but that may be as far as it goes.
Well, based on what you're saying right now, I will say something that kind of gives away some things I'm doing later. I do have Mass getting an original screenplay as its only nomination.
Makes sense. I mean, screenplay is an award that something can get in without anything else. You talked about Parallel Mothers a little bit ago, and I may or may not have done anything with Parallel Mothers later on in my predictions. We'll get to that later. But I've had complete faith in having these 4 the whole time, with French Dispatch being the nomination for Wes Anderson, but every day it seems like it's losing more and more traction. People are forgetting about it, which is sad. It has split the community. Either it's way too Wes Anderson or it's not going to work for general audiences, which sucks because it's really, really good. And I'd like to see it be more of a contender here, but sadly it's just not. So being the Ricardos here may be my wild card, but I'm not going to give up my adoration for that movie because I really enjoyed it, and I've been sticking with this movie. Like, I hope it's so God. I really hope it's not American Hustle, but I don't think it is because I think Kidman's getting in. But we'll get that later on. I'm okay with this 5.
It's weird. It's weird for me because I don't think French Dispatch is Wes Anderson enough.
Brian said, no. Go ahead.
I said, what movie did he see?
No, but like, I could sort of, whether it's just because of it being like the part sort of story, 3 different things put together. it just didn't feel like it was a flowing plot with loads of crossover characters like we've seen recently from like Moonrise Kingdom and Isle of Dogs and Grand Budapest. It was all sort of its separate window. The only bit that was sort of linking the two was, or linking the three, sorry. Well, I guess technically five, if you include the brief little travelogue bit and the obituary, was Bill Murray just randomly being there either for assessing the article or actually appearing in the story as well. So,
As I said, the thing linking them is the French Dispatch itself.
yeah, but that's really about it. Whereas there was a really good, complicated story with the rest. That's the only reason I still enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's as good as what we've been treated from him over the last 5-6 years.
It still deserves to have consideration a lot more than it does. Regardless if you love it or like it, I feel like it should be in the conversation, even though it's not.
I think there's strong enough writing in there for it to,
Totally.
be somewhere in the 10 or the 15 at least for script for original.
Brian says almost did consider The Harder They Fall, but put a hero instead. All right. Oh, let's go into the acting categories. Best Supporting Actress.
Oh my god, this category.
I shoot the category right now.
Okay, here's the guys. I've been saying this whole time that this category is so packed and such a bloodbath that there's going to be a snub.
Yep.
They're going to have no choice but to snub somebody. That's how math works. And it's funny that I just talked about an original screenplay about how I'm finally putting King Richard in. Because I had to pick somebody that's going to be a big snub.
Yep.
And the reason I had to snub this person is because there is somebody that doesn't have a precursor yet that I think BAFTA is going to push in.
We'll go with that.
I've got Katrina Balfe for Belfast, Jessie Buckley for The Lost Daughter, Ariana DeBose for West Side Story, Kirsten Dunst for The Power of the Dog, and Ruth Negga for Passing. I can maybe see people saying I should put Ellis back in place of Negga. But I've just had a really good feeling about Negga, much like Adapted Screenplay. Ever since I saw the movie, I've had a really good feeling about Negga being comfortably in here. And like I said, I feel like in another year, Negga will be winning everything. So it's weird that she's just kind of on the outskirts. But I have a good feeling about her. And of course, I already mentioned that original screenplay is going to be my only one for Mass, despite the fact that Ann Dowd also would be running away in any other year. But that's pretty much what you can say about everybody here, pretty much. And like I said, I feel like Buckley just hasn't peaked yet, but it's and The Lost Daughter hasn't completely peaked yet, as it's still releasing. But I feel like I said, I felt good about her ever since I read the book, also. So we'll see how much of this is getting persuaded by outside sources and how much of it is accurate, I suppose.
All right. Ashley, what do you got? Best Supporting Actress.
I have Katrina Balfe for Belfast, Ariana DeBose for West Side Story, Kirsten Dunst for Power of the Dog, Ingenue Ellis for King Richard, and Ruth Negga for Passing. DeBose moves in place of the Dench. So yeah, little change from me as well.
Yeah, because we're under the impression right now that DeBose is the front runner, right? I feel like we can all say that.
Whether right or wrong, it's the answer.
I feel it's either her or Dunst, and then the other three are sort of making up the numbers to some extent. I think those those performances have the most momentum as it stands. We'll have to see if Balfe can get some wins in some of the bigger things. Maybe she could move into the race more so.
Yeah, because back when Belfast was considered the front runner, I would have seen Balfe as an easy winner, and that's another case where it's like even if it was another year, Balfe's performance would be an easy winner. But this category is insane.
category. Like, we mention it all the time, and AJ's brought it up here, and I know we brought it up in conversation with each other. I know we brought it up in like pre-chat before we went live, but at the end of the day, this season would be phenomenal if we weren't predicting anything. It makes us hate things we don't want to hate, and it makes us like, why? Come on, why is this happening? This is ruining our predictions, but it's a fantastic season. I have everything I've seen this year so far. Granted, I haven't seen some of the movies that are out because I don't want to watch things on my screen. I'm sorry. But at the end of the day, eventually I will get to see them in the theater. And when I do, we'll be good to go. But this is a great season. There's only 2 movies I have at least liked somewhat. I've liked or loved almost everything that's a contender this year, with the exception of House of Gucci and Nightmare Alley. And I like somewhat tolerate both of those. So I don't like flat out hate anything I've seen so far. There's redeeming qualities about everything, and even if it's a minute bit. And that being said, could fill a Tim's as Brendan Fraser for next year.
For the Scorsese?
That's what he's talking about. Brian says, for supporting actress, it's the same as the Golden Globes. Lorraine says, Ellis, Balfe, Dunst, DeBose, and Nega. Here's my problem. I'm not going in on this passing love, and I think that's my mistake. But hear me out, because I have a reason why I'm not going by this passing love. It's weird because there's obviously love for West Side Story. And I feel that, I'm going to quote Ashley here, I feel it's going to do the double. So my predictions, I have Kirsten Dunst for Power of the Dog, Catriona Balfe for Belfast, Anjanae Ellis for Take a Shot for King Richard, and Ariana DeBose for West Side Story. My 5th slot, Rita Moreno. And I think that it's a very good possibility that could happen. We mentioned SAG or BAFTA getting somebody in the race that's not necessarily here yet. She's already has a little bit of visibility. We keep that word out there against that visibility word. It's going to be something I'm going to use a lot tonight. But yeah, I had Judi Dench in here, and she got bumskied out for the Take a Shot, the juggernaut that is West Side Story. And I feel that if there's going to be a double in this category, which we thought all along there's going to be Belfast, I think now it's West Side Story. And it's very believable that's exactly the direction we go. Here's the weird ones. So I've had Ann Dowd here almost since day one, and having to drop her out made me sad. And then we talked about Coda having all of its praise and not going for Matlin. Had to bump her out too. So yeah, I feel that this is a 5 I'm comfortable with, somewhat, question mark, blinking man emoji. But needless to say, I'm going to stick with that. And that's my 5 moving into 2022. One bloodbath to another, best supporting actor.
Actually, this category's problem is that it's not a bloodbath at all. It's like there's 3 spots and then random stragglers can come in if they want.
Accurate.
Okay, I got a couple of explanations before I say these. Number 1, I went ahead and held on to somebody who's always been here, even though by all means it sounds like they shouldn't be.
Okay.
Because they have gotten no precursors, despite their popularity, and they were outed as having a very, very small amount of screen time.
Yes, correct.
But the love for the movie that they're in and who they are, I feel like could still put them here in this dead-ass category.
Well, if it's that crazy a performance that it garners the right tension, I'm hoping we're talking about the same thing. We'll see.
I'm
guarantee we are. The second thing I have to say is, and you would think that who like what I just said is what I'm talking about here, but this is actually a separate thing, a separate reasoning. Lakeith Stanfield.
Yeah, good bet.
Completely out of nowhere nomination that gets in, not only because they're great, but when they really love a movie that much. Lakeith Stanfield type nominations happen where they come from out of nowhere. So yeah, those two, what I just said, are two different ones, and now I'll say what they are. Because, yeah. Bradley Cooper for Licorice Pizza. Kieran Hines for Belfast. Troy Kotzer for Coda. Our Lakeith Stanfield nomination, along with our apparent current frontrunner, which is exactly Judas and the Black Messiah's thing that was going on. I'm going with Jesse Plemons and Cody Smith McPhee for The Power of the Dog. Complete total coincidence that Jesse Plemons was the guy that hired Lakeith Stanfield and Judas and the Black Messiah, by the way. Total coincidence. Now, yeah, I know it could be, because we talked about how supporting actor has doubled up every year since 2017, with the exception of 2018. And a lot of people think that's going to be Belfast. But The Power of the Dog is strong enough. Like I said, Plemons does leave an impact that's kind of getting overlooked, but if they love the movie as much as they appear to, I don't see him going overlooked. So, because I was initially going with the Nocturnal Animals thing where they go with one over the other, but now I'm feeling the Judas and the Black Messiah thing happening with Power of the Dog.
Okay. Go ahead, Ashley.
So I finally kicked out Timothy Spall for Spencer.
Been there.
To make way for probably an obvious one that I probably shouldn't have seen coming because I still haven't seen the film. But either way, I have Bradley Cooper for Irish Pizza, Troy Kotzer for Coda, Kieran Hines for Belfast, Jason Isaacs for Mass, and Cody Smith McPhee for Power of the Dog. Because if there's one train
I'm glad somebody's alive.
if there's one train that I'm gonna die on, it's the Hello to Jason Isaacs train.
I'm really glad somebody is.
The in joke from the Kermode and Mayo podcast, because Mark Kermode was in the same class as Jason Isaacs. I'm keeping it in because I am really wondering whether Isaac somehow gets snubbed at the BAFTAs. I think he should, but if he does, then it'll be like, great, BAFTA are idiots. But yeah, Troy coming in seemed the obvious move, considering the garnering acclaim that he's been getting in terms of awards wins and near, like second or third places on those that rank them. So yeah, I think that's
all right.
I mean, there is the possibility that the only one that I sort of was thinking about was doing the double with Dornan for Belfast, but I could see Plemons getting in for the double. I don't know whether Benny Safdie's strong enough to get a double for Licorice Pizza, or Sean Penn.
Do you want to watch him do his Evil Knievel gimmick again? Literally jumping the shark, just like the Fonz. Anyway. Okay, first off, you guys aren't dying on the hill alone because chat's 100% on the Jason Isaacs train.
Yes.
Lorraine says, Smith McPhee, Hines, Kotzer, Dornan, Isaacs. Isaacs is my ride or die. I just can't let it go.
Yes.
Brian says Bernthal for King Richard. I was on that train for a while. It's kind of a lonely train, Brian. Dornan for Belfast, Hines for Belfast, Isaacs for Mass. If he does make it at BAFTA, and Kotzer for Coda. Okay. Let me look at mine here. I'm not giving up on J.K. Simmons. At the end of the day, I feel like it could happen. If this was another year, it's probably more of an actuality would happen. So I'm going to keep him here, even though he's probably the weakest of this five when it comes to visibility. So he may get bumped out in January, but right now, since it's December, I'm going to keep him here. And Troy Kotzer is now in here because it makes sense. I did drop a lot of people here, and I did think about running Dornan here, but I had to drop him out for Kotzer because it made sense to me. And obviously we've got Hines and McPhee, which are in because duh. And, you know, at the end of the day, I'm not going against John Peters. I just won't do it. The Kevin Smith fan of me will not go with it. And honestly, after seeing him in the movie, dear God, I don't care if he's in the movie for 2 seconds. He's Oscar award worthy without question. So yeah, Bradley Cooper for Licorice Pizza. So yeah, that's going to be my 5.
I do have one thing to add on to this before we go on.
Go ahead.
And I said I know it's early for this conversation, but I just want to go ahead and throw it out there.
Sure.
So Cosmo McPhee is destroying the Critics Awards.
Yeah, totally.
He's literally like, remember in the animated Grinch when he was taking the wreaths off the clothesline? That's what Cosmo McPhee's doing with Critics Wins. Just all of them. And that said, I feel like it's between Kieran Hines and Troy Kotsur, realistically. Because, like we were saying about, they'll go after young actresses all the time for wins, but young actors don't really get that treatment. And he's only, I think Cosmo McPhee's only like a year older than Timothy Hutton was. And it's like, when's the last time we've had, like, a winner even close to how young Timothy Hutton was in the category?
Right.
Unless I'm totally forgetting something off the top of my head, but yeah, so it's raining really hard now. You can't hear that, can you?
Nope.
I don't want to have to speak aloud.
Cody doesn't even have an age on Wikipedia, so I don't know how old he is.
I think he's 20, I think.
See, you mentioned rain and wondering if I could hear you. I'm sure you guys and girls out there that have watched these shows for the longest time realize that you hear pyrotechnics and fireworks in the background because I literally live at the place that I work. Needless to say, it's 8 o'clock. We don't close for 2 hours. We're not going to go that long, so you don't have to worry about pyrotechnics tonight for the show.
Oh, that's interesting. If I then search for Cody Smith McPhee age on Google, it says Wikipedia says he was born in 1996. Yet if I go to his page, it doesn't have his... So he's 25.
Yep, Brian said that.
I don't know if that changes my argument or not. I'll have to think about that.
Brian also said, other than Dornan, Hines, and Isaacs, they also love to go with Australians. So Cody Smith McPhee will most likely get in. That's why I say they like Australians. Look at Robbie getting nominated for Bombshell and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's fair. Oh boy, here we go. Best Actress.
Another bloodbath, and I had to make a painful cut here. I really didn't want to. Like I was telling you, at the very last minute here, I had it down to one of these two people's getting cut. Which one is it? And it sucks, but I guess right now I am going with Olivia Colman for The Lost Daughter, Penelope Cruz for Parallel Mothers, Alana Haim for Licorice Pizza, Frances McDormand for Macbeth, and Kristen Stewart for Spencer. My chopping block was McDormand and Chastain, and obviously Chastain got cut. And I know it seems foolish, maybe, to stick to this McDormand thing, but here's the thing, is we haven't gotten any industry nominations yet. And it's the industry that has the massive hard-on for McDormand.
Certainly.
And it's like, you can say, like I said, we went through this whole thing last year. Oh, she's not going to win again. 3 billboards just happened.
Well,
they gave her 2.
The only clue that we'll get is when we get to SAG, right?
I hate Nomadland just because of that. That's what this season's have done to me.
SAG will be the one that gives us the indication.
Yeah. And it's also that thing where it's like, oh god, what was I gonna say now? I think it was just in the same vein. It's just the fact that it's like you could say, you know, oh, this will be the year. This will be the year where it's like, okay, we're done with McDormand now. We thought she couldn't get another one last year. They gave her 2 in the same night. Surely to God, they are done with her now. but she is playing she is playing Lady Macbeth, and I've already gone on this tirade in the last video, so I feel like that doesn't need any other explanation why I would hang on to this. But I could also see Chastain sticking it out barely here, which would be really nice, and she would really earn it. But it's a tough category because because I feel like I gotta go into this Heim thing. Because I feel like Licorice Pizza is gonna be Licorice Pizza is gonna have a really good nominations morning. I feel like.
Absolutely. Ashley, what do you got for Best Actress?
Cruise gets knocked out. Probably understandably. So, the five, sorry. A Coleman for Lost Daughter, Gaga for House of Gucci, Haim for Licorice Pizza, K Stew for Spencer, and Rachel Ziegler for West Side Story. Because I think there's too much momentum behind West Side Story. I don't think it should be there, but again, I'm trying to think what the Academy's going to do.
It's definitely realistic.
Yeah.
Oh, it's realistic. I don't want it to happen. And I loved West Side Story. Don't get me wrong. Ziegler does not belong in here. Here's the thing. Before we go into chat, Lorraine says Kidman, Gaga, Chastain, Stewart, Cruz. Brian says Coleman, Cruz, McDormand, Stewart, and Tessa Thompson. That love for passing is you guys in chat are 100% on top of that as well. So Brian says I did not know where else to go. Very true. Speaking of not knowing where else to go, we talked about J.K. Simmons a little bit ago. I'm not dropping Nicole Kidman for anything. So I feel that she's here, and I feel that's the only thing that's really sticking at this point. So I may be like a pipe dream for being the Ricardos doing anything else other than Kidman. That Kidman may miss here too, because like AJ said, this is a really, really packed category. So much so that I had to do something I didn't want to do. So yeah, we've had Kristen Stewart here pretty much the entire time. We've had Olivia Colman here pretty much the entire time. I'm not giving up on Nicole Kidman. And welcome Alana Haim to a very much deserved Best Actress nomination. And yes, that did bump out Frances McDormand. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Maybe I'm still a little butthurt about Nomadland. Probably am. Probably always will be. Welcome to my fifth slot. I had to bump Gaga out here because I think House of Gucci is better than Kelsey's Nuts. So needless to say, Ashley got that. I'm putting someone in here that has been on your guys' list pretty much since day one. AJ still has. Ashley just bumped, and apparently she's joining mine. Yeah, Persephone, welcome to my list. Penelope Cruz. So, serendipity, long day. Anyway.
I mean, there's the possibility for like costume that Gucci might get in, which considering what it's
possible.
about, that does make sense. But it's like, it's interesting that Gaga has become the Jennifer Hudson, and that's because Jennifer Hudson didn't even make it in for Respect.
And that's why it's possible she's going to miss.
I was gonna say, I don't know how to describe why I feel this way, but I've been feeling like if Gaga does get in, it's gonna feel similar to when Lawrence got in for Joy.
Yeah.
Where it's almost like, oh, okay, I guess they did go with that for some reason.
And I've bumped a lot of people out throughout this entire run. I mean, I had Blanchett in here for Nightmare Alley, and I had Chastain in here, and it's just like these five seem pretty good to me.
Was Joy the year after Silver Linings or 2 years?
3 years.
Wow.
2012 and 2015. It was 2 years after American Hustle.
Oh right, that was the one in between, right?
My worst Oscar prediction in the history of everything.
Because just on what we were going earlier, the youngest supporting actor winners, because of Cody being 25. Yeah, Timothy Hutton was 20. The next nearest was George Chakiris for West Side Story.
Of course.
At 27. Closely followed by Cuba Gooding and Heath Ledger at sort of 29. And then the really interesting thing is when you get to all the female winners for leading actress, they're all 26 or below.
Makes sense.
In the actor one, it's only like Adrian Brody being just before his 30th birthday, and all the rest are in their 30s. So, yeah, they like young women. I'm not trying to imply anything.
So, Cruz in here is, I'm kind of like really like timid to put her here because Gaga is literally like staring me in the face like right now as I'm looking at brand predictions, and I'm thinking I may have made a mistake. But then again, AJ kind of has this this thing about, I think it goes back to Jennifer Lopez for Hustlers, that everybody thought that it was like, oh, she's getting in, there's no way. And then AJ's like, nope. And what happened? Nope. So needless to say, could be right, could be wrong. We'll find out in a couple months. Best actor.
Simple enough.
Yes.
4 spots taken, 1 revolving door.
Yep. Exactly.
We've been doing DiCaprio, Dinklage, DiCaprio. Which one is it going to be? And then somebody's been kind of like popping their head in and out of this. And then they got one mention that may mean totally nothing. But this is also somebody that, despite the reputation of their filmography, people in the industry love. And like I could see SAG starting this off easily.
We have the same argument, but for a different person. Continue.
And I think I already alluded to the fact that I was going to do this when we talked about Critics' Choice.
Yep, you did.
So yeah, fuck it. I will roll the dice on Nicolas Cage for Pig.
Oh.
And then obviously Cumberbatch, Garfield, Will Smith, Denzel. We all know those.
Ashley, who is your 5th?
I mean, the short answer is Dinklage. Oh wait, that didn't sound right. Shit.
Oh man.
The quick answer is Dinklage. I am wondering whether the Academy's going to feel the same love for Garfield. That's the only one that I think, might not feature. And I'm wondering how much momentum Jockey might have as to actually scrape
I do get
and be the male equivalent of Lady Gaga.
I was going to say, for some reason, as soon as I heard about it, Clifton Collins Jr. for Jockey was kind of giving me Damien Bashir in A Better Life vibes. I don't know where that comes from, but that's what I felt.
Or worried about Ali.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I don't want Garfield to be the vulnerable one here.
No.
Please tell me it's not true.
See,
I don't. Well, it's because we really don't know how they feel about Serrano either. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I think Smith and Cumberbatch are locks, with Washington being like the padlock's yet to be locked, but it's like hooked on the chain. The other two, it's like, I don't know. I want Garfield to be in. I feel it deserves it for his performance, but whether the Academy will agree with it, I don't know. Ultimately I went with it. But I could see something weird like Nicolas Cage gets in, and then everybody watches that Nicolas Cage film and go, oh god, he orbited himself.
Hey, that movie will be amazing. I refuse to believe otherwise.
all right.
And I hope Tarantino's actually in it.
Okay. This will take some explanation. But before I go there, Brian says Cumberbatch, Dinklage, Garfield, Smith, Denzel. Lorraine says Cumberbatch, Garfield, Smith, Washington, Cooper. Brian says thought AJ was going to say Ali for Swan Song.
It was
an idea.
It's not impossible.
I knew about the stage thing a minute ago, so needless to say, and when I say that, I mean I knew recently that he was going to go this route.
I mean, it does help when you play two characters.
All right, so here's the thing. Okay, remember every single time that I do this, everybody knows what this means. This means why not both? When we're talking about Dinklage and DiCaprio, I would normally do, but this time, nope. I'm going a different route. And we talked about, I know I kind of like got AJ's ire up a little bit last time when I brought up the devil's advocate idea about the fact Denzel missing here with all the no love for Macbeth.
Shut
And
your fucking mouth. Don't even say those words. Like I said, I haven't seen Macbeth yet.
I haven't either.
I've never been so devoted to a performance I've never seen.
That's fair. But I think I would probably say that for me, the correlation there would be Steve Carell as Maxwell Smart and Get Smart. You understand what I mean when I say that. A performance that I did not see yet. I was very devoted to loving it, and I did.
That was you this year with Being the Ricardo.
Yeah, totally, it was. Absolutely. You're a good point. Okay. So obviously, I'm not gonna play devil's advocate here. I got Denzel in here for Tragedy of Macbeth. Okay, I'm good with that. Garfield for Tick Tick Boom. You're welcome. Vindication from 2014. Cumberbatch for Power of the Dog. Will Smith for King Richard. Now I had Cooper in here for Nightmare Alley. Nope. I had Bardem here. He doesn't have enough visibility. Now we've got the fifth slot. DiCaprio I had here for Don't Look Up. Love the performance. I don't think this is the year. I have Dinklage here for Cyrano. Nope. Again, love just the trailer itself. So I haven't seen the movie yet. Won't see that until this time next month, hopefully. And if not beforehand, hopefully California will help with that. But let me throw a different option at you guys. So we're talking about Love Fest for movies, and we talked about supporting actor. Talking about a performance that is very minor, but very important, and something that could easily get in another year, but in this year, maybe a little bit difficult to believe, but is still there. And we're talking about SAG, and we're talking about Nick Cage getting into SAG and getting him into the spot, the fifth slot that everybody wants to get into. It is a revolving door, as AJ alluded to, and it's true. It really is. We don't know who that fifth slot's going to be. And if we decide to throw out the potential idea of someone that is a lock getting snubbed, which we don't believe is going to happen, like I said, I just want to play devil's advocate here. I think there is somebody else that's on this as well. I love the performance. I will go to bat for him. And I will go to bat for the fact that, obviously, he comes from a pedigree that is absolutely beloved in this industry, and somebody that everyone misses even more so by the day. Someone that me and AJ talked about for a long time on a video on this channel. I have no qualms with what we said on that show. And I could talk about him all day long. Justifiably so, my fifth slot is Cooper Hoffman. And I really think it could happen. And I think the love for Licorice Pizza is there to the point that it very well could happen, and I think that it's going to happen. Now, let's say the devil's advocate behind me here, let's say our SAG lineup ends up being Garfield, ends up being Cumberbatch, ends up being Will Smith. What if the last two are Nick Cage and Cooper Hoffman? Then we've got a race, ladies and gentlemen.
That is actually possible because Macbeth could always be that one. You know how there's always that one movie that's too late for SAG?
Yep.
That could actually happen to Macbeth.
And I think that the visibility of Macbeth is something that is going to get there. but I think Licorice Pizza right now, having just come out and having such favorable reviews already, tells me that Cooper Hoffman's got a really good shot at this spot. The fifth slot everybody wants. The fifth spot that everybody thinks is going to be someone else. And I'm going to go with it. Just like AJ rolling the dice on Cage, I'm going to roll it on Hoffman, like I've done so many times before at his father in the past. And good fella Tim agrees. Brian says, I think I know what Owen is saying. Yep. I like this. I like people like going with what I said. It's awesome.
Sorry, I'm in a little bit of shock. Not because of what Owen did, because I was looking at what awards that Denzel was also nominated for, and turns out we've also got the Australian Academy Awards. For some reason, they put Pacino in for supporting actor for Gucci. Okay,
That's
I don't hate that.
No, I don't. I like But might I throw Mark Rylance's name out for Don't Look Up, please?
They also, in a pleasant surprise, they actually went with Sally Hawkins for Spencer for supporting actress.
All right.
Anyway.
Well, oh God, AJ knows where I'm going with this, and this is when I start eating crow. Best director.
I love the guy. He's one of my favorite people in the world. But fucking Spielberg fucked this up.
Tell me about it.
Okay, so I got a couple of things I got to address here. The first thing I guess is somebody I really wanted to go ride or die on was Joel Cohen.
Yep, totally.
I really want to go in on Pablo Larraín too.
Yep.
Last time I took Campion out for some bullshit reason that is probably inaccurate and totally not. I have Campion back, but but here's the thing. Here's the thing I really need to address, just in case we've got some overzealous fans in there who are my people.
I'm sure we do.
I think it's been. I haven't done my best movies of the year video yet because I still need to see a few things. But I think if people have been following these, most people have probably already figured out there's a 99.9% chance that my favorite movie of the year is going to be Dune. And I've been really championing Dune. I saw it multiple times in the theater, multiple times streaming. I can't get enough of it. I am obsessed with it. I love it.
100%.
So I've been very comfortable putting Denis Villeneuve in here. As have many people, I'm assuming, as well. This category is so beyond fucked up at this point.
Yeah, accurate. 100% accurate.
This category is as relentless as supporting actress, if not more so.
I'd say so.
And stuff that really, really should be here, mathematically will not be here. Certainly. Mathematically, it has nothing to say about the movies. Just a mathematical equation says things that should be here will not be here because there's so many.
Sure.
Even if it should be the thing that's winning the category by a large margin, it may not even show up because that's the way this category is right now. So with that very painful bit of information, that absolute dagger to the heart, I'm going to say Paul Thomas Anderson for Licorice Pizza, Kenneth Branagh for Belfast, Jane Campion for The Power of the Dog, Ryusuke Hamaguchi for Driving My Car, and Spielberg for West Side Story. And that's all I can do.
What do you got, Ashley? Best director.
PTA for Licorice Pizza, Branagh for Belfast, Campion for Power of a Dog, Denis Villeneuve for Dune, and Lin-Manuel Miranda for Tick Tick Boom.
Interesting.
That is
Like
balls of steel.
accurate.
I didn't do him in alphabetical order because Miranda is on the cusp of he's getting Spielberg, doesn't he? He's like the 5. He's number 5, at least I would say, is like, because if any big blockbuster film is making it in, it's clearly Dune, because West Side Story failed so hard in their release strategy that I don't know what's going to happen to that. That was like so good for the first week and then just fell off a cliff because they thought it would stand a chance against all the other films taking up the screens. And it's like, no, it isn't. No, it won't. So yeah, that's the 5 for me. But like, when we get to those final predicting everything, I wouldn't be surprised if Spielberg was in there in place of either Villeneuve or Miranda.
You've been waiting for this. I know you have. 100%. All of you have been waiting on this. So, yes, the Hershey Kisses that I have consumed during work today in stress out mode are now going to equal out to the huge meal of crow I'm about to eat here on camera. But first, Lorraine says Campion, Spielberg, Villeneuve, Branagh, and Anderson. Hey, there's the pyro. I guess it's early tonight. Brian says Branagh, Villeneuve, PTA, Almodovar, and Campion. And Brian says this is the first time I put Branagh on my director list. That being said, let's go through a little bit of a journey, shall we? Joel Cohen. Ronaldo, take a shot. Ronaldo Marcus Green. Pablo Larraín. Guillermo del Toro. Aaron Sorkin. These are all people that have been bumped out since August. Boy. But remaining, Kenneth Branagh for Belfast, Jane Campion for Power of the Dog, Steven Spielberg for West Side Story, Denis Villeneuve for Dune, and Paul Thomas Anderson for Licorice Pizza.
So what you're telling me is the day I take Villeneuve out is when you finally jump on the train.
Yes.
Yes.
I have become a hobo right now. I literally have my bag over my shoulder, and I've just jumped the train as I watched you dive off of it. Again, if Drive My Car is Parasite, this makes sense. I'm saying that it's not. So that's why I'm being fine with going with my 5 that I have. Now, that being said, the only name that seems like it's questionable here is PTA. Once again, no. No, it's the only one that's not locked by the so-called experts.
Well, the so-called experts, I think, are. Well, no, I don't like to say anything definitive. Don't catch me in that, but
So-called experts. Campion, Spielberg, Branagh have been pretty much all around the boards. Denny's here, whether I like it or not. I think PTA is your final slot, but I don't think he's the final slot. I think he was a lot more solidified than people think he is. I think he's in.
Didn't we
100%.
all have him in since August?
I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about in general.
Oh.
A lot of people are going with him. They are wrong, and they will be proven wrong when the DGA lineup comes out. And that's going to be when you could see your Drive My Car get in, or your King Richard get in, or even your Spencer get in at this point.
I don't think Drive My Car will make DGA.
I don't know if it's
I
eligible.
think it'll be the one that kind of comes in at the last minute.
Okay.
Like BAFTA might throw it a bone, and that'll be what pushes it in, like Pawlikowski did, and Vinterberg.
But yeah, I'm okay with this at this point. But like I said before, and everybody in chat knows, I've not had Dune in here at all. And the time that I finally do something with Dune is when AJ decides he's like, nope. So Crow has been eaten. Let's go to Best Picture.
All right, so you've been doing this whole thing about Drive My Car, whether it's Parasite or not,
Right?
which I'm assuming is referring to a foreign movie having a significant place here.
Of course.
Well, first off, my question is, we didn't have 10 slots when Cold. We're talking like Bennett Miller's in this, but we can take him out and talk strictly about the foreign contenders.
Sure.
We don't know if 2018 had 10 slots, if Cold War would have been in there, or last year if another round would have been in a 10 slot race. They could have been on the outside despite those director nominations still.
It's very possible.
And talking about, like, to use the Parasite example, I guess, Parasite had a couple of genres going on that have very mass appeal.
Sure.
A little bit of comedy, a little bit of thriller, a little bit of horror. All that stuff is engaging to a mass audience. You don't really have to necessarily win them over.
Of course.
Drive My Car, to my understanding, is none of those. And you talk about the whole thing of trying to win a group of voters over with a foreign movie being a challenge. Now you've got to win them. You've got to say, like, people would have initially dismissed it and said, oh, it's foreign, I probably won't even watch it because I'm not interested.
Right.
Even if the Academy has started taking more to foreign movies now you're going to have people saying, it's how long? I'm not watching that. I don't have time.
That's fair.
I feel like the length could do Drive My Car end up getting like a 9th or 10th Best Picture slot.
Okay. That's fair.
So I kept my lineup the way it was, I think. I may have made one. I may not have had West Side Story in the last time. I don't remember. But I have Belfast, Don't Look Up, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, The Lost Daughter, Power of the Dog, Tick Tick Boom, Macbeth, and West Side Story. Yeah, I would say if I put Drive My Car in, Macbeth will be the one that gets taken out, but it's me, so I'm not going to take Macbeth out.
Fair assessment. That's the great thing. When we finally get to picture, we don't have any explanation to make. It's like, just, Ken, let's do this. Ashley, what do you got?
You say that. 4 changes for me.
I'll get to that. Don't worry.
So yeah, Mass moves out. Hand of God moves out. French Dispatch finally moves out. And Don't Look Up moves out. My 10. Belfast, Coda, Drive My Car, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Lost Daughter, Power of the Dog. I think for the first time in my list, Tragedy of Macbeth and West Side Story.
All right.
Part of me is just wondering whether there's enough divisiveness in the critics that could stunt Don't Look Up momentum to at least make it in picture.
Yeah, because the argument remains that Don't Look Up's reception isn't that great, but it's pretty similar to Vice's, and of course Vice ended up being like a top 5 movie on nominations wise.
Right.
Yeah, but
That's the reason I still have it in picture pretty much.
Vice is based on fact. Don't Look Up is inspired by fact. There's a difference.
I was wondering how you were going to word that.
Yeah, I was to say.
Good way to put it. Okay. Brian does mention, AJ, you had Spencer before you put West Side Story, but I think everybody knows that too. Lorraine says, Belfast, Coda, Drive My Car, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, Power of the Dog, Tick, Tick, Boom, and West Side Story. Brian, go ahead.
Am I really sleeping on Coda here?
I have.
The only thing I've got is Code, sir.
I feel like I'm probably gonna hate myself because I took it out and now it's here. We'll get to that. Belfast, Coda, Cyrano, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Parallel Mothers, Power of the Dog, Tragedy, Macbeth, and West Side Story. Lots of no guts, no glory on that one, Brian. He says, I would say Ma Rainey's Black Bottom and One Night in Miami would have been 9 and 10 for Best Picture.
You would think. You would certainly
likely.
think, and you would certainly hope. As great as another round was, but there's still the Ma Rainey One Night in Miami snubs are still so weird. I don't.
All right, let's play another game, shall we? Things that I've bumped out for our Best Picture lineup. Coda, Spencer, The French Dispatch. I'm sorry, Wes Anderson, it's not this year. Nightmare Alley and The Tragedy of Macbeth. Yes, I'm not giving up on being the Ricardos. So, that being said, Don't Look Up, West Side Story, King Richard, Tick, Tick, Boom, The Power of the Dog, Licorice Pizza, and The Lost Daughter. I'm not comfortable with anything at this point because you never know what could possibly slide in here. Spencer could be in this race still. People could get Nightmare Alley in this race. I don't know. Something like an outlier, like a House of Gucci. I don't see that happening, but I mean, you never know at this point. And Coda is something that I dropped way early that I'm starting to really doubt myself for dropping so early.
I keep toying with the idea of taking Tick Tick Boom out of picture. But I would just be so incredibly I know people say what they will about the Oscar voters and all that stuff, but I mean, I would be so disheartened if a group of creative 6,000 plus people didn't take to Tick Tick Boom and think it's the top 10 of the year kind of thing. That would be really disheartening if that many creative people can't acknowledge what Tick Tick Boom is and how important it is on that kind of level.
I mean, being the rent mark that I am and the fact that I haven't seen it is only because I don't want to watch it on my computer. I want to watch it in a theater like nature intended. And I hope that I get the opportunity to do that somewhere during the sports season. Same with Power of the Dog. And obviously same with Tragedy Macbeth and Cyrano. And that's probably it, I think. I think I don't need to see anything else after that. When it comes to I need to see Coda if it ends up getting a picture run, and Dune if it gets a picture run. But I've seen everything else. The only thing I think, which is probably wishful thinking here for me, is being the Ricardos, because it probably won't end up in the picture lineup. But I mean, you never know. I mean, it depends on what they take a shot, what they actually go for. But I guess we'll find out soon enough. Brian says I'm all in on Parallel Mothers. That's fair. Might be a bad idea not to go in on it, but we'll see.
I hope I don't regret taking it out of Screenplay, but I feel good about those 5 in original Screenplay, so...
Fair. So, before we end, next Monday night, 7 o'clock, Eastern Standard Time. I think that's right, because I don't run that day, so no. Don't have to worry about that. So needless to say, we'll be live 7 o'clock on Monday night, and the final awards season podcast for the time being, which is going to be predicting the Critics' Choice Awards, which who knows when they're actually going to happen. And we'll talk a little bit about the Annies and things like that as well. That's coming your way. Brian says, speaking of Coda, since the film was on Apple TV, can I just say how amazing it is that I got Wolf Walkers on Blu-ray as part of the Irish Folklore Trilogy box set from G Kids. Animated feature, he has Encanto, Flea, Luca, Mitchell's versus the Machines, and Raya and the Last Dragon.
I'm going to rob him of that Wolf Walkers Blu-ray.
I don't know. It's funny you mentioned Flea, Brian, because I've been seeing we have a poster for it, I had a trailer when I watched Red Rocket the other day. I really think I'm going to see this thing theatrically, and I'm very much excited for that option. So, which means I'm going to be like, once again, missing out on the animated movies because I won't watch anything else. But I think if Flea ends up in that lineup, which I feel like it will, I may end up forcing myself to watch like Encanto and other movies that are when they get their theatrical re-release. Since, I mean, I literally have a Disney theater, which is down the road from me, so could happen. But I usually miss out on the animated movies, and I will get my rewatches of all the picture nominees because I feel like there's going to be another one of the best picture marathons, but it's going to miss out on the movies that are Netflix, Amazon, Apple. So I'm going to have to watch that in the theater across the town. So, like what I watch Mank on, what I watch Don't Look Up on, what I probably will end up watching Macbeth on because I can't see. I don't know. It just depends at this point. We'll see. Power of the Dog is something I'm worried about, and Tick Tick Boom is something I'm worried about as well because I want to see them theatrically. Brian says, go online to the G Kids store. That's for you, AJ, about the Wolfwalkers Blu-ray.
I plan to.
Right on. I think that's your show, everybody. So the next time you're going to see us, wow, it's going to be 2022. Crazy to think that, isn't it? So Ashley will have more content coming in the near future. Find him at Ash's My Name UK on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
AJ, of course, as always, and does have any presence in social media, and again, cannot be killed by conventional weapons. So needless to say, you can leave a comment on any of the videos, and he'll get back to them down the line in a response video that will happen eventually. He did that before many years ago, so it'll probably happen eventually somewhere down the line.
There is one, but since we're getting ready to leave, there is one olive branch I want to extend.
Go ahead.
Give me a call, Sean Baker, if you're listening. I'd like to talk.
Oh my God.
Hey, he posts on Letterboxd. I could probably talk to him directly if I really would try.
So we'll find out if he'd been trolling the blacklist or not. Anyway, find out. I did not, 100% did not say anything. Brian says, I will be 22 on Saturday. Oh, happy early birthday, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be your show, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the big 8 categories for the season. Next month, end of the month. Hopefully, feet don't fail me now, which you'll find out if that is the case or not. Fingers crossed. And Live 11 at Tin Roof, but also the return of trying to predict every single category in the Academy Awards before nomination morning. That's going to be your next Oscar podcast, which is next month. I have a lot of conversation we have about California, too. So we'll get to that later on. So that being said, I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight, whether live or in archive. Thanks to our live chat, as always. Thanks to everybody who is not currently in chat, that is leaving comments on these videos and on these podcasts. We appreciate your patronage. And thank you for tuning in for another series of podcasts here on the Podcast Network. And if you'd like to follow me on Twitter, you can. If you'd like, it's at Siro and Disney. And a ton of Sip and Snacks are coming. A ton of video content to actually catch us up proper is coming up very soon. So don't worry. We're trying to get that underway. AJ's got some more content coming your way soon. And I've got Voices of Liberty videos that I've not even put up yet. I have a ton of Water Parks videos from November 19th I haven't put up yet. And that's on top of all the Sip and Snacks that I have. So that's coming soon as well. So once again, I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. And until literally next year, boys and girls, that's all we got to say about that.
And we're done.